There's only one place to be after the hunt. The Skinning Shed with Fuel Outdoor Gear.
Presented by Mathews Archery and Grizzly Coolers.
We had a good idea at ATA one year. You're in luck.
You're in luck.
The bag that you can drive, you can just pee in the bag.
Yeah.
That's called a Mountain Dew bottle.
Fighting on camera.
Sure are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one never came to fruition.
Well, that's just one of those ideas.
Yeah. I think it was alcohol.
You got some deer on your camera?
Yeah, my spot up in West Virginia, I got, there's a guy, a trooper I worked with that's just like, I mean, the dude kills everything. Like, great deer. I mean, like, he Dr. Death. And he's on our lease up there, and we were up there last week. And I said, hey, man, just check out my setup, man. See what you think, man. You know, because it's a new spot I want to hunt. I had good deer through there, and he kind of looked. And he would picked out my stand in Ohio when we used to hunt up there, and I killed every time. And he was like, man, if I was you, I'd probably move that from there to here and doing this and that. And I was like, freaking do it.
Yeah.
You know, and everything he said that would happen is happening. So
That's funny.
You know, there's certain things I'm really good at, and I won't listen to anybody about. And then I also know that there's some stuff I just don't know shit about.
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid to listen to him because he is so good. His woodsmanship skills are just like, he sees stuff that, I mean, blow my mind. But I mean, he passes 150s, 160s up there all the time. And, you know, he's just like, I got plenty of those.
That's not me.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like I think my biggest to date is like a 135, and that's a North Carolina deer.
Yeah.
So if you look like you might be near 135, you know,
You're dead.
I mean, mine's like a 100.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not Oklahoma deer.
Your story last week on last week's podcast about the guy that came in here criticizing the little deer.
Oh, my God.
I laughed. I listened. I kept rewinding and listening again.
Oh, my God. It was good. We've had so many people say something to us about that actual episode. They're like, are you serious, that guy? I was like, you have no – the shop was packed.
Yeah.
And this dude come in hollering that. And, I mean, my face, I was just like, are you for real right now?
What is wrong with people?
I'm telling you.
Everybody's an expert, man.
Why can't you just be happy?
Well, I mean, once again,
for
that's
other
the lack of humility in this industry
Oh, yeah.
And that you know, I do all of our social media, and we get we love celebrating like the kids that shoot some of the ugliest deer you've ever seen.
Sure.
You know, like adults that just get their first one, or like if you're proud enough to shoot it and recover it and take a picture
with it
and take the time to send it to us and say, hey, your products work great.
Yeah.
And I'm going to celebrate that. Like
who am I to say?
Yeah. Well, and that's what kills me about, you know, just a lot of the stuff in the hunting industry right now is, you know, what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing. What you should be doing is getting outside.
That's right.
What you should not be doing is sitting inside on a computer. You know, you should be getting outside.
Looking at all the influencers and forget
right.
all that.
Right. Like my favorite influencers are the ones that are funny, that tell it like it is, and they fail as much as they succeed.
Right.
And it's just about the journey.
That's right.
I could care less about the result.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if I want to do that, I'll go pay X amount of money and go up to some, you know, guided Amish place where, you know, Ezekiel says, you know, wait 5 minutes and he'll be in here. And 5 minutes later, there he is. And he's like, you know, you like him, you shoot him, you pay me. That's not, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
All right. We should have been recording that.
It's all just recording. I mean,
we may have to put that part back in.
No, I don't want to.
Get him started on some trooper stories. I'm going to tell you what.
Well, this might be a
comedy.
We can actually make it 2 episodes.
The Skinning Shed Comedy Hour.
Yeah.
Well, we hadn't tapped into the drone stuff.
So actually, we could make it 2 episodes and like make a whole nother episode with the drone stuff. Because I mean,
whatever.
I mean, it'll be.
We've been rambling for. I mean, I don't know how long y'all trying to do.
I really don't. I really don't know everything we've talked about. It just ramble on.
Well, that's what's so fun about it for us.
That's why people like our podcast, is because they're enthralled in what we're talking about. I've had so many people come in and go, your podcast is so different from everybody else because y'all are not just on a topic talking about this.
We go down.
You're basically going down rabbit holes. You're
Squirrels.
It's like you're talking to your buddies.
You're around the campfire at hunt camp.
Right. And
Is there a better place on earth
No.
than around the campfire at hunt camp?
100%.
I go hog
Well,
hunting.
there was the night they got married. That was pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Good job, Philip.
I enjoyed that.
Mine
good.
too.
That
I
was
mean-
pretty good.
Yeah.
There was a lot that happened that night that was great.
Shoot, night I got married, we seen a big old 10-pointer standing in the front yard of the little Airbnb over there, man.
We didn't see anything big that night.
We were living. Neither did she. Hey, that was the biggest thing she's seen that night too.
I'm saying my wife.
Yeah,
Well, nothing big showed up that night.
yeah.
Those words were not synonymous with my wedding night.
Right there with you. We were pulling in, and I'm like, man, she says, don't you want to go up there? I said, look at that freaking thing. We're just sitting there.
We fell asleep eating wedding cake, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah, well. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
When he said, "Good Lord, look at the rack on that," when she slapped him upside the head.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
No, that's the whole thing with our podcast is we were sitting around skinning his deer at his house.
Mm-hmm.
The four of us just sitting there hanging out, skinning the deer, talking.
There was a few dead soldiers.
It wasn't a big buck. It was,
No, it was a
it
doe.
It was a doe.
And we just,
I
we had the
think,
best time.
honestly, I don't think we got done till almost midnight. We killed an 18-pack of beer, and I mean, I literally went, "Who's driving me home?" Like I wasn't expecting this, and it just we had so much fun that night that I think it was 2 weeks later. I think you said something like we should have recorded, or did we record it?
No, we didn't.
No, we said we should have
The
recorded
only
it.
thing you did the thing
Time
when
lapse.
Yeah,
That's what it
time
was.
lapse when I was field dressing that
Yeah,
day.
and he said, "Man, we should have recorded that." And we got to talking about it, and it was like it just one thing after another, and it just evolved.
Yeah, it was like,
And-
what are we gonna call it? The skin shed.
yeah,
Because we were in this little lean-to and like where I have goats, one little bay skin shed.
Nothing more
Skinny
pure
shit.
than that.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean,
That's what I say. This was the initial thought of this, and also this for healthcare, because one of my hunting buddies was in healthcare. The topic of the conversation around the campfire is the birthplace of ElimiShield
That's awesome.
and
That's
technology.
awesome. That's
Speaking of healthcare, so I got a text from my doctor today that he bought a brand new Elite Kairos from me last week and shot an 8-pointer today with it.
nice.
And I mean, he grinning ear to ear, and I'm
That's
like,
awesome.
And now
That's our customer right there.
I'm telling you, so I gave him such a hard time because he bought a crossbow, and then basically he couldn't get it to shoot right, and he came in, and I was like, should have bought a bow. And by the time it was said and done, he bought a bow and went and killed that deer, and he's like, it was unbelievable. And I was like, I told you.
That's freaking
I mean, and he's like a believer now. He's like, I cannot believe this. Because I told him, people don't understand that you start shooting a bow and they're like, well, I'll go hunt with it next year. And I'm like, no. You'll hunt with it in like a week or 2 weeks.
My son I brought him in a couple of weeks ago, and you got him set up. He's been sending me groupings for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And said, I think I'm ready to get in the stand. And he was planning on bow hunting next year.
That's what I'm saying. People, they don't.
It's
Jason
not a
got
big
him. He
learning
got him
curve.
set up in 2.5 hours. I think we were here. You got him set up and dialed in, and he's been shooting every day. Just has fallen in love with it. And
That's the
he's-
thing. It's
and he's
so much fun.
27.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's
great.
people are intimidated by it. I don't
I was.
know why, but I mean,
I
I
was
had,
until I found out you can go do it and drink beer while you practice. And then I thought it was great. My wife's like, what are you doing? Outside. Leave it alone.
It is
Going to shoot.
It's 100% like when you get home in the evening from work, man, just to go shoot a dozen.
Yeah, just
shoot
transition from work
5,
to home.
Yeah.
And
So I've had to transition mine to mornings and not evenings because when I leave here, I don't want to look at a bow.
No, I don't
But
want
in the mornings, so we work out in the mornings, and when it was warm, I would go home as soon as we got done, and I would shoot my bow for an hour.
Right.
And then I would, come to work, and I loved it. Like I was like, I can't believe this.
What do you mean when it was warm? You didn't shoot today?
It was cold this morning.
It's a good excuse.
Okay.
Actually,
it was chilly this morning. I was
was.
glad to see it.
Oh, yeah.
so we
was
do
awesome.
a ruck on Wednesday
Wednesdays.
mornings, and this morning I was cold.
Yeah, it
Like
was
I had
chilly.
on jogging pants, long sleeve shirt, and I was cold until about a quarter of the way in it, and
You
then
should
I
come
was
do
sweating
that
to
with us.
death.
All right.
You should come with
And-
us on Wednesday morning.
Then I was freezing.
It's Friday Night Lights weather now.
Yeah.
High school football games.
Speaking of
it's
high
getting
school
right
football,
now.
the Davie County, which is it North Davidson?
No, it's
North Davie.
No, just Davie. We
Just
just had one
Davie.
in high school.
His son plays for. They're buying our laundry detergent by the 5-gallon pail
Nice.
Yeah.
because
It's nice,
it's
too,
the only
'cause-
thing they've been able to find to get the stink out of the uniform.
That's
That
what I'm
was
saying.
that was a bad stinking high school.
There's a whole
So,
other
yeah,
market
yeah.
of
It is.
uses.
And we made a half-ass attempt at the sports industry, but we just didn't have the energy for it.
Mm-hmm. I understand
It's
that.
got too much going on.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's got to be passionate about it to take it, and I'm just not. I don't care about stick and ball.
Yep.
So if we found a partner to somebody that would really like to take the ball with, the
And
bull
that-
by the horns and that,
well, and that's
and
what-
that will
That's exactly
Talk
what
about
you were saying about people on your team.
Yeah.
That have a passion for sports.
Mhm.
Like, let me take I love your product. I believe in it.
right,
Let me take it to my people.
right.
Take
Okay,
off.
here you go.
Yeah.
We'll meet
What do you-
later, and you tell me how.
And we
show
do that
me,
with
show me
NASCAR.
a business plan. Yeah, we do it. We
We
do
did
it.
it with NASCAR.
We treat drivers' uniforms with it and encourage them, whether they do or not. We encourage them to use core body foam before they put the uniform on. And those that do swear by it. I can't say who because I'd have to pay them. But we got some pretty big names that use ElimiShield, not only for prior to dressing for the race, but hunting. They're all,
It's a
lot
lifestyle.
of
It's a
them are-
lifestyle product, really.
Well, I want to go back to what you said about the wind in the mountains, which is 100% correct. And it's the same thing like you were talking about weekend warriors guys that just go on Saturday, or like you
Right.
said, they go after their son's football game or daughter's volleyball game. And, you're talking about the wind. It may say it's out of the northeast today.
No.
And even like down here at Uwari, somewhere
Yeah.
close, depending on the terrain,
That's right.
the wind, once it hits this ridge, it could be going southeast,
No question about
south,
it.
north. And so, I mean, you're
You
making me a
can't-
believer. I'm
You
just telling you.
can't play the wind all the time.
No.
Unless you're just going to decide to sit at home that day because the wind's not right. And that's just, it's not fair.
And generally for me,
Well, you only get so many days a year to hunt.
the 100%,
point,
that's
right.
exactly right.
Yep.
And so I pick a spot and I go in, and because I am carrying my stand on my back, so I can pick a tree wherever. I know the area I want to go to. I check the wind, and like you said, I may pick this tree because I think the deer's coming out of this cutover over here into these hardwoods. They could come off of that laurel thicket right here that I didn't really know about coming this way. It just depends. And I was thinking of you were talking about that. I was thinking of a funny story one time up at our lease up in Roxborough. We were sitting around. We always sat around, lunchtime or before in the mornings. Like, where are you going? Where are you going? What's the wind doing? Everybody's got a corn pile.
Yeah, right.
And I just remember this one dude, he's like, wind's wrong for that stand up there off the power line. I'm like, I don't know if it was you or Marcus,
Probably
his
Marcus.
brother.
I was going to say.
Probably Marcus.
He said, what do you mean the wind's wrong? It's a corn pile. He said, well, the wind's blowing from the stand off to the side of the corn pile. well, maybe the deer's coming from that way and they're coming to the corner
Right.
from behind you, you know.
We talked about printing up shirts that said I hunt
Marginal
win.
wins, which is actually what you really should be
That
hunting,
is
is a
what it should
marginal
be.
win.
Yeah, right.
But it was just the funniest thing, you know. I thought about that. I'm like, damn.
Now, I
makes
don't
a
know
lot
this
of
to be
sense,
true,
man.
but if you're hunting over bait, they're going to come from downwind of the bait, right?
That's right.
So where are you?
That's right.
Exactly. That's exactly right. You know, they're going.
So I
to
can tell you
J-hook it.
that in casual where I hunt, we don't play the wind. There, you cannot,
Right.
because they come from every single direction.
Oh, yeah.
There is not one specific spot that they come from, because we're in their bed.
Now, if you're
in the pine
not
thicket.
using ElimiShield though, they're never going to come in from the
Oh, yeah.
direction that the wind's blowing towards. But they might come in from upwind.
Yep.
They usually circle. My experience is I've watched them circle, and especially on a new bait pile or a new area, I've seen them just go all the way around 360 degrees and then come in.
Yep.
And watched them the whole time. Knew exactly what they were doing. They crossed my path, the one I walked in on 15 minutes earlier, and came in from downwind. And are you going to get winded sometimes? I don't care. They're going to smell something.
We did a lot of that,
Especially those. I don't know if you've probably seen them. The really skeptical does.
Oh gosh.
Never heard of her.
I mean, it's so much fun watching her, and whenever I see one, I'll lock on to her because I'm like, if I can fool her,
Yeah,
I can
you
feel
can
this
fool
whole
them. That's right.
herd.
You
I've
can
got
learn.
this
You can learn the most from those days.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
So
And
I do have a question though, and this is me when you were talking about the exfoliation part. So if I was standing at my truck, I put core body foam on, I did my spray, and then I go walk in, which means I'm gonna sweat everything else if it's early season. Do I need to put it on again when I get in the tree?
No.
Or
don't
it's
have to.
good?
I carry mine with me because my forehead and my hat and everything's sweating, and I just have it just to add to. But, but no,
Because I sweat a lot.
it's not the sweat. It's to prevent the odor that comes from the sweat. You can sweat all the time. We're not trying to prevent sweat. We say use it as deodorant. We're not using it as an antiperspirant.
Oh yeah.
I got you.
Okay?
It's to keep
So
the sweat from smelling like.
that's correct. It prevents body odor, and body odor is born from sweat,
I got you.
and toxins that your body is excreting through your sweat glands.
Like when you drink
Bush Lights.
18 Bush Lights the night before.
No, they don't have a bit of problem with barley.
That's natural. Oh, Brandon made a good point about walking in and brushing up against something or whatever with your bare skin and all. That's where most people get, like I think you said it, most people get busted. He caught my wind. Well, he didn't catch your wind. He caught where you just brushed up against that.
Or you grab it,
tree
move it out of the way.
or whatever.
That's
Yeah,
absolutely
you
true.
grabbed it in your hand and you moved it. Or,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, you think about going into a piece of public. You don't know where you're going. You're leaving all kinds of scent in the woods.
Just willy-nilly
Yeah,
walking
willy-nilly.
there.
Just blazing a path through there.
Right.
It's like, how many deer did you not see because you were...
Well, you don't know what kind of scents that you've transferred from your truck.
Exactly, yeah.
There's more than just body odor. But I think the thing that affects a deer more than anything is the body odor. It's the toxins that we're excreting through our body through our body odor, and that's their survival. I mean, that's coyotes excrete a certain type of odor, and other predators. So I think we excrete a very unique odor that
It's not
it's
natural
God
to their
given.
environment.
It's a God given defense mechanism, and I don't agree with some technologies out there that prevents the deer from being able to smell.
Right.
That's not fair.
No.
Especially because you can't target just the deer in that scenario. You're targeting the rabbit and the squirrel and the coyote and everything else that's in the area by relaxing their ability to smell. I don't want to relax their ability to smell. I want to relax their ability to smell me. And everything else is good, especially for us bait hunters. We want them to smell the bait. Why are we gonna kill their ability to smell where the bait's at?
Every time I get close to this spot, I can't smell it.
But no, not to criticize any other stuff. We just have a different philosophy.
Yeah,
and
I agree with what you're saying.
I want to be able to improve the weekend warriors like me, their experience in the woods. And that's what this product line is all about. It's not about the money. Don't need to do it. But it sure is a lot of fun to do it. So that's why we do it.
Goes back to your passion.
That's right.
So you also own another brand, which we talked about it earlier, Bryson Brothers Aerial Solutions, which in turn goes from we're trying to kill a deer to now we've killed a deer, or we thought we killed a deer, and we're having trouble tracking it. And so that's where that comes into play.
Yeah, Philip, and I'll let him obviously talk about all the entire business model with that because he brought it to us. Give him and his partner David Deal, our other drone pilot, all the credit for that. We were just in a position to be able to support them financially and make them, Philip was already a part of our team, but his day job was first sergeant with the Highway Patrol, so he was able to work for us on the side. But now that he's retired, he wanted to be able to do something full time. So he brought this idea to us, and it's more than just deer recovery. So I'll let him talk about what is Bryson Brothers Aerial Solutions.
Yeah, if you'd have told me a couple of years ago, as I was a trooper, that when I retired I'd be operating a drone company, I'd have told you you're crazy. But I shot a deer 3 years ago. Actually shot it 3 times. If I'm being honest. Took off across a cut bean field about 250 yards. I had a great blood trail. Get to the edge of the woods. Starts to diminish. Can't find it. So I back out. Go back in the next day. Look, can't find it. Call a dog. Dog can't find it. And about this time, Mike Yoder with Ohio Drone Deer Recovery was getting kind of popular on YouTube. I was paying attention to what he was doing, and I said, I'm going to get one of those thermals because this was a good North Carolina. It was like a 140-inch deer, and for North Carolina, that's Boone and Crockett, And so I got talking to David, and David is one of those guys. We all know somebody like him. He's an introvert, but he's extremely intelligent, like almost to the point it scares you. I called him, and he helped start the Highway Patrol's drone program back in 2016, and just has a mind for that technology. And I say, hey, man, what do you think about this? And he was like, yeah, why not? So I got a thermal drone and started tinkering around with it, and we sent a message to a friend of ours. It's a really, really big, high-yield farmer, and he's got a TV show, and he's kind of a kiss the ring kind of guy. I said, hey, just so you know, we got this drone, and we got a couple other smaller ones, so if you need pictures or anything, let me know. And he fired right back and said, well, have you ever thought about doing ag drones, like spraying fields? And I said, no. Hell, I'm just trying to learn how to fly this little thing. So I started talking to David about it. The more we looked into it, there's nobody doing it. And so basically the core of what we do is agriculture spraying. So our drones are DJI. We have 2 different T40 drones. They carry 10.5 gallons liquid payload, 110 pounds of granular. And we do everything from herbicide, pesticide, fungicide. We do seeding. If it can be dispersed from a drone, we do it. We do greenhouse cleaning with the big the glass roofs and all that. We do greenhouse shading, where it's like a paint you put on it in the spring, and it helps them regulate the temperature inside during the summer. Yeah. And you go back in the fall and you remove it for them. And then we've also got some new technologies we're working on that are going to be new to the industry, but because of our abilities to be able to manufacture, we found out real quick that there's good money in application, but there's better money in what runs through the drone, the products that run through the drone.
Right.
So we're working on some of that stuff. Now that deer season's here, the thermals, it's bow season right now, so typically the bow hunters are pretty good shots. A lot of what I get calls on are either they turned out to be wounded or it's just a flat miss. I've recovered a couple this year. There's a couple that I didn't find at all, and they turned back up on trail camera. Like we talked about earlier, once muzzleloader gets here and rifle and the Orange Army gets out there, that's when I get excited.
Yeah.
Because nobody cleans their muzzleloaders. Nobody sights in their muzzleloaders.
Right.
Nobody knows, like, they could not tell you what they're actually putting in them, like what grain they're using, what powder they don't know. They're just like, boom. Yeah, that's what I'm using. I'm just boom. And then when rifle season gets here, and that's my favorite because every Chris Kyle comes out of the woodwork.
American sniper time.
And just again, like I don't understand why people don't sight their stuff in. Like save your money, shoot your deer, kill it, and you don't have to call me. I'm glad that you do. And I'm happy to help. And I'm very cognizant. There's a lot of times I've told people, hey, I understand you're shooting a crossbow and it was an 87-yard shot and the deer didn't kick and you didn't have any blood on your arrow and there's no fur and there's no blood anywhere. I really think you missed. I don't want to just take your money and come out there. Like I tell people that. It's not a money hustle for me.
But to me, I would have a lot of respect for you if you were honest about it versus there's a lot of people out there that would just come out there, fly the drone around for a minute and charge them.
Well, earlier you were saying you have this list of questions.
That's what I was going to say.
And so, and
Can
that's
you go
good
through
because
that list that you you ask each person?
The first thing I want to know is what did the deer do? How far was your shot? What were you using? Crossbow compound. What's your experience with it? What kind of broadhead were you using? Did you find it? And then where's water? That's the first. When I get there, that's the first thing I want to know is where's water. And typically, what I've found is I'll get there and it's always a kill shot. They always tell me, "Oh, that dead deer walking."
Yeah.
I was afraid to go in there. It's dead. I know where it is. Okay, tell me where you think it is. Well, I think it's over there in the northeast corner. He probably that's where he beds down, and I find him in the southwest corner. And I don't think, and to be honest, I didn't have. I had a great appreciation for deer and their will to survive. Yeah. But since I've been flying this drone the last couple of years, I have learned just how remarkable these animals are at surviving. And I had one in Surrey County, and flew it, and it took me a little bit. It was early season, still the canopy's not ideal right now. It's getting better every day, but I found a good heat source. My light couldn't penetrate the canopy, but I felt really good about it. Everything I wanted to see, I saw. Guy goes in there, and it was really, really thick. And what this buck had done is it had gotten underneath the thorns and the laydowns and was basically in like its own little shelter underneath.
Just crawled up under
there. Yeah, just like, and when they came in to try and recover it, it jumped up and took off running with, dragging one leg. Mm-hmm. But they said they would have never seen it.
Had they just
been
walked
right on it. Yeah, they would walk.
Sure.
Yeah, they said never would have seen it because it was so thick. So, there's a lot of times that we find them. It's really easy. You were with me with one last year, and guy called and was like, I'm not real sure about it. And I kind of went through my checklist. Where's water? Where's bedding? What property lines? All this stuff, and started flying it. Probably took 10 minutes, maybe?
Not even. Yeah. I don't think it was 10 minutes.
Yeah, and it was daylight too, which it's easier to do it in the dark. But it was daylight, and we found it, and it was dead, and it was a great find. It was his personal best. Yeah, it was his personal best. And we were talking about
But he was also in a different direction of where he thought it was going to be.
Yeah, he was one of those like, he's going to be over here, and we found him over there. But the kid we were talking about earlier this year,
So Hunter Williams.
Yeah, very accomplished hunter. He did everything right.
Yeah.
He put a good shot on the deer because it was on video. I saw it.
Oh yeah.
And then he went up, he saw blood, and then he went in just a little bit. And as soon as he wasn't sure, he backed out.
Which is the smartest
Best
thing
thing
to
to
do.
do.
Man, yeah.
The hardest thing to do is
It
100.
really
is
the hardest thing
It's
to
the
do.
hardest thing to do is to not go.
But credit to him, his experience and his patience is why we found that deer.
Yeah.
And he called me, and I didn't know the highway patrol correlation until I was on my way out there, and I got talking to him, and I was like, man, you've improved your own odds just by being patient. And we got it up, and it took a little bit. That one wasn't really easy. But again, this was opening weekend, I think. It was Sunday night.
I think it was.
And, I found a good heat source I felt really comfortable with. I'd ruled out a lot of other areas. It was in line with where he felt like the deer was going. Again, like I just said, that's not always 100%. But, it was obvious talking to him, like he knew his property. He knew his herd. He knew kind of how the flow went. And so I said, man, I feel really good that's your deer. I said, let's just drop a pin. I said, just wait till first thing in the morning. I'm going to drop a pin. I'll give you the coordinates before I leave and, let me know. And the next morning, like 30 minutes after sunlight, he sends me the picture.
And he went straight to it.
Yeah. He
That's
says
awesome.
13 feet from the pin.
Yeah.
So, the drone works. I mean, it does. It's miraculous.
Well, and I've had discussions with people talking about the drones and dogs. So they're like, oh, I'll just call a guy with a dog. It's a little bit cheaper and this and that. And I'm like, but you're not understanding. With the drone, you're not bumping that deer.
Yeah.
And so like hunter's deer, the deer wasn't dead yet.
No.
So if you would have took a dog in there to go track and that deer ain't dead, now you've bumped him.
That's exactly right.
And that dog's going to keep bumping him until you say, no, I don't want to
That's
track
right.
it with a dog anymore.
And
so
dogs
now it's went to 5 different properties.
That's exactly right.
And
And dogs, a lot of times, and of course, a dog's only as good as his handler. And dogs are great with a good handler at locating dead deer. But if the deer's not dead,
Right.
you're setting yourself backwards. And that's not a shot at dog handlers.
Right.
Like, it's not at all. It's
And
just,
you had that experience with Connor in Ohio.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, my 13-year-old, at the time 13-year-old, he shot a 166-inch buck up in Ohio. We got far enough to know we had good blood, but far enough also to know that it wasn't exactly what we wanted. Backed out. The guy that we were with, like, I got a friend that's got a dog, it's really good, almost 100% success rate. Are you willing to pay it? And I was like, for a 166-inch deer for my 13-year-old? Yeah, hell yeah.
yeah.
I could sell my wife to pay for that. So
You need to edit that one.
Nah, you good, man. Roll on. She's on eBay at least twice a day. Put up for sale. Or Craigslist. But yeah, dog went in and located about 200 yards. It had buried itself down in some thickets. It was fresh snow and everything. And the deer had bedded down at one point, huge blood bed, and then from there, nothing. And it scared me to death. But the dog found it.
Eventually. Right.
Eventually. Yeah.
That was. I remember you talking about how long of a night that was.
Yeah, it was long, but the dog found it. But with the drone, you can still see whether or not the deer's moving like real lethargically, kind of real slow. And so the legal part of it is I cannot assist in the taking of an unknown animal. So if you shoot a deer and you say it's an 8-pointer and he was running this general vicinity, the shot was a little bit back. I think it might be a gut shot. Okay, so I put the drone up and I find that deer is still alive and it's an 8-pointer and it appears that the shot placement is accurate. Then that deer is known to the hunter. He shot it. It's not just some random deer, okay? Where the difference is if you call me and you say, hey, I want to try and shoot a deer. Can you find me one?
Right.
And I go up, in the morning and I find a deer in the woods and then telephone, radio, CB, whatever, I walk you in from an aerial perspective
Right.
for you to kill the deer. That deer is unknown to the hunter.
Yes.
So that's where it's legal. Now, what
Illegal.
I mean, well, I'm saying like the recovery. That's why it's legal
Right.
because you already know about that deer. But what I typically do, if I don't know you and we don't have trust built up, like with Hunter, that was totally different. I won't give you the coordinates until I've packed all my stuff up and I'm getting ready to leave. If that deer is still alive, I won't give the coordinates until I'm on my way out. And on my way, I'll write on the back of my business card and I'll hand it to you. I say, good luck, man. Send me some pictures. And I boot scoot because
Just to cover yourself.
yeah, I mean, I've got a law enforcement background, but I'm retired now, so that doesn't mean a whole hill of beans.
Right.
Careful.
I didn't say anything. I didn't say I'd jump and run from the green pants. I didn't say it. But no, so, a lot of people wonder about the legality of it. I had another guy from Stokes County that wanted me to come up and fly his property and let him know where everything was bedding. And I said, well, let's just be very clear. You can't hunt within 24 hours after I do that.
Right.
I said, I'm going to ask you to sign a disclaimer saying that I've made you aware of this. If you choose to violate it, that's on you. But I've made you aware of that. And he was like, yeah, no problem, And then all of a sudden he wouldn't return my phone calls, which is fine. I've dealt with poachers. I've dealt with trespassers. And there's a fee for that. I'll just be quite honest with you. I had a guy, he wanted me to meet him on the roadside, which is not uncommon. And so I met him, and I was like, yeah, he's trying to get me down, as close as you can to where the deer last went in. He's like, well, can you just fly it from here? And that was, first light goes off.
No.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, we can.
You mean you don't want to walk on this property?
Yeah, I said, yeah, I guess we can, And, I noticed his passenger window was down. Noticed there was a rifle in the front seat. And so I start flying. And I find the deer pretty quick. And he's like, well, yeah, can you give me the coordinates? And I said, well, just so you know. And I pulled my badge out. I said, I work for the Highway Patrol. And I said, I'm not going to ask you if you own this property or not. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't own this property, I probably wouldn't go recover that deer if I was you. He was like, oh, okay. Now then, different year. I'm retired now. I'll tell you where that deer is. There's a $250 premium on that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to pay me plus $250.
Yeah.
So, it's there's a lot of weird stuff that goes on out there. I had two family members that couldn't get along, and the guy calls me out there. I find the deer in like 30 seconds. He's like, hey, how much would it cost for you to go drag that thing? And I was like, no, that ain't happening. That ain't happening, dude. Sorry. And he was like, well, me and my wife are going through a divorce, and I still got this stand on the in-laws, getting ready to be the outlaws' property, and I'm probably not supposed to be hunting over there. And I shot it, and I was like, yeah, that's your problem, man.
Probably not supposed to be hunting.
Yeah, like, your Venmo's already hit, man. I'm sorry. I can't tell you. But for the most part, I try to stay as long as the hunter feels like there's a legitimate chance of finding the animal. I've heard of other guys going out for, just 1 or 2 battery cycles and like, yeah, that deer's not here. And they leave.
Right.
That's bullcrap, man. Now, up in Ohio, they charge like $500 just to come out. Our market down here won't support that.
No.
I mean, it just won't,
Right.
Well, I actually had a conversation with a guy. He was talking about he had lost the deer, and it blew my mind that he was like, it is what it is. And I was like, hang on a minute. I said, you're telling me that you spend thousands of dollars a year to go hunt an animal, and you're going to shoot it and just say, I ain't worried about it.
Just give up that.
And he's like, well, I don't want to spend extra. I'm like, hold on a minute. How much money you think you spend a year in corn?
Yeah, exactly.
And he was like, I don't know. I'm like, so why would you not take the effort to find that animal?
Yep.
I said, much less the fact that it's not humane to just
I was
shoot
going
the
to say,
animal.
forget
you
the
owe it to
monetary.
the animal.
Yeah.
He's like, I guess I do spend it. I'm like, yeah.
Well, there was a guy up in
And it's the
Mount
right
Airy.
thing to do.
He's
to go
like,
find
it
out.
had to be
That's
a
right.
giant. And I'm like,
No.
there
was a guy in Mount Airy that shot a 4-pointer. He wanted the meat. And he looked for it, couldn't find it. Got his friends out there, looked for it, couldn't find it. He called me and he said, look, I'm pretty sure I missed. He said, but man, if it was important enough for me to shoot that animal, it should be important enough for me to find that animal.
Absolutely.
And he said, I realize the meat's not going to be any good. He said, but I want to at least locate the animal.
Right.
And I said, okay, fine. I went up there and we found it. But, a lot of people just, that burns me up.
Yeah.
Well, so in the shop, I have to just kind of,
Yeah,
I have to
you
be
hear the
like,
story.
huh?
Yeah.
Okay. But I can't say what I really want to feel.
No, you can't.
But for me, I'm like, it's minimal money for what you're really putting into it.
Yeah.
And it's not, like you said earlier, it's not just about the money.
It's not.
It's your
the
responsibility.
It's a sportsman. It's to be a sportsman.
It's the most humane thing to do.
Yeah.
You know?
Now, I will tell you, one of the greatest things about flying these big drones to these farms, and doing 500-600 acres of corn at a time, I see some really good hunting land. I mean, like,
Got some good scouts.
Oh my god!
You dropping pins?
Oh man!
Need to call this guy back.
Well, so the other guy, David, he likes to fish a lot, and I don't care much about fishing, and he's always gets on to me because after we kind of get the business done and we we're flying and everything, we've got our chemical mixes going and we're in our groove, and the farmer wants to come out and. He always sees it coming. I'm like, man, you got some beautiful land out here. I said, but I noticed, these first 4 rows of corn, like, there's nothing left. The deer just annihilating. It looks like a problem. You're sitting there poking the bear, man. You know the farmer's getting ready to lose the crap. He's like, I'll tell you right now, I can't stand those damn deer there. I was like, well, if you ever need any help, I'd be more than happy to help you out. And half of them are like, you know what the only thing that's worse than a deer is? I'm like, no, what? And they say, a hunter. I'm like, oh, okay. And then some of them
Have
are
a
like,
good day.
yeah, and then some of them are like, you come over here and you kill every deer you want to.
Right.
And I'm like, the first thing I say is, next time you apply for your permit, if you will please put my name on it, I can help you with that.
Yeah.
But we get to see some really, really good hunting ground.
Oh yeah.
And we'll travel wherever, as long as your check cashes, we'll go. But we're very good at what we do. We've been doing it for a long time in relation to other large drone applicators.
So
Where's home base?
So administratively, Thomasville. Operationally, Davie County.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but we'll go. We go all the way up to Mills River. We go to South Carolina, and we're dealers also. Mm-hmm. So we also sell all the drones. We can get you set up from theory all the way up to ready to do billable work. Mm-hmm. But we'll if there's anything drone wise, we if we're not doing it, we're already researching it to start doing it.
Can you fill up one of your big drones that you spray farms with and spray ElimiShield on my farm? Is that doable?
Well, I did my food plots this year with the big drone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I had the biggest one was like 3/4 of an acre, and I killed everything. We timed it in 1 minute and 45 seconds. The 2,4-D was applied. Then we went back and sprayed it again, same amount of time. That was like 5 weeks later. And then we spread all the seed with it, and we got that done in maybe 2 minutes. And then the lime,
That's unreal.
all the granular lime, we got.
You got me thinking now. I'm going to save a bunch of diesel fuel if I just have you come out and.
Yeah, you do. It's quick, and it's very accurate.
It's longer to set up than it is to fly.
So you plot the drone flight path and.
Yeah, depending on what we're doing. So if we're doing let's say a 300-acre farm of beans, and it's all right there, then we'll send a smaller drone up and we'll map it.
Right.
And then we use RTK.
Yeah.
And then we'll bring it back and just basically customize our boundaries and then upload the boundaries to the controller.
Okay.
And then we go in and we prescribe it to how fast we want it to go, the swath width of the spray, the micron setting, how big or small you want the droplets coming out, and a couple other things into the drone. And then basically when you hit start, it pretty much just now we manually take it off and get it about halfway out to its route before we allow it to take over autonomously.
Yeah.
And then it's just on its own. And then when it gets either empty or the battery gets to 25%, it stops and it just automatically goes into a hover and it drops a GPS pin. And then it turns and it comes back to home. And it lands plus or minus 2 centimeters from where it took off.
Right.
And then we just change the battery out, refill the tank, we hit resume, it goes right back to the same place and just keeps going.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yep.
And if you think about it from a farmer's perspective, and this year was awful for us. We had some really good projections. We were going to, and then most of the people, from probably, Wilkes County to Wake County, Virginia, South Carolina, that block, which is kind of what we service. Everybody plants usually about the same week, and then we went 47 days with no rain. And it was awful for the farmers. But typically, what we will do is we'll get out and we'll map that, we'll run it and everything, go home, clean everything, and do it right again the next day. But
And now, believe it or not, we are making drone cleaners.
yeah, so there was no drone cleaner on the market. So I say we, it was just my idea, his MacGyverness. We got it worked out, and it works wonderfully.
So you run it through.
No, you take a pump sprayer. No, you take a pump sprayer.
This is the exterior of the drone.
No, the
propellers and all the frame and all that gets so gunked up with all the residues from whatever it is you're spraying.
Oh yeah. Okay.
We went to work about 6 months ago and started developing formulations that would be spray and wipe. So they're not having to use, because you can't use pressure sprayers.
Yeah.
It's just too delicate. So we developed a product specifically for removing the residues that collect from the herbicides and the pesticides and stuff.
I feel
Takes
like
it right off.
we need to take a tour of the plant because it sounds like a freaking lab.
So
But,
we have
I mean-
150,000 square feet.
That's just,
Can we do a field trip?
yeah. I mean, it just
up to
sounds,
them. I can go anytime. That's up to them.
do any of y'all farm? Do any farming or anything?
I mean, if you want to say planting a half an acre is farming, yeah.
Well, no.
I mean,
We run some beef cattle, but we don't do crop ground.
My wife puts flowers in a pot. I mean, it's like, I think y'all are on about the same level.
yeah.
You fire up the drone and
Yeah, pretty
spread.
much.
Put a little
You
fertilizer.
think about it, like if you're a farmer and you got all this big equipment, and you get 3 days worth of rain, and the rule of thumb is every 1 day of rain's 3 days out of the field. So to stay on calendar, you've got to get certain applications done, and when you get 3 days of rain, you get way behind. Well, the great thing about the drone is we go,
Right.
and we get a lot of Mayday calls. People freaking out about getting off calendar.
Can't get their tractors in the
Can't
field.
get the tractors in,
for
yeah.
the field. Too wet.
So that's it's nice, but when you're dealing with somebody's livelihood, you have to build that trust pretty daggone quick.
especially that livelihood.
Yes,
Because that's a dying.
it's one of the
breed.
few industries that does not set the value of the thing that they're selling. And like this year, the grain prices were just awful. If for people that don't know, they're set by some people up in Chicago of all damn places, and they were awful. And on top of that, you had bad weather, and just it was just an awful
The
year
corn
for
crop
farmers.
this year was
It was
horrible.
terrible. I mean, there's a lot of farmers I know that went in and just bush hogged everything, or they would call their cattle farmers and be like, "Hey, I'm getting ready to just
Grazing.
chop this for silage. Come get whatever you want."
Right.
And they go in and just cut it, and then try and make that decision soon enough, they can go behind and plant beans and try and at least make it off beans. But when we went up into the mountains to try and do some work up there with the drones when the storm came, I mean, there were farmers up there that their cornfields were looking phenomenal because they got rain, but now they're just as flat as the floor in here.
Yeah.
And it's it's awful.
Yeah. I got to understand the rain part of it, and I know I only literally planted like an acre in two different spots. And so after the storms, and the storms wasn't as bad here. After the storms, when we went back to hunt, half my food plot was dead.
It was
And
washed
so
away.
one side of it basically drowned and
That's
it
exactly what
washed it
happens.
completely away. It was already like a standing crop, but it completely killed it.
I mean, we saw that upper
then-
food plot in Virginia. It's
I've
just
never seen that before.
yeah.
And I was like,
Was there a little bit of a grade to the ground?
yes.
Yeah, that's why.
And there was one other section that it came around in a little bend,
Yeah.
dead as a doornail.
Well,
it-
typically the stuff we plant, with the exception of like radishes and what's the other one? Turnips. They really don't get that great root structure, and especially your throw and grows. They just don't get a good root structure, so it's easy to wash away. Now, we had that problem in Virginia, but I've got a food plot at some property we're hoping to build on, totally flat. And I mean that rain helped. I mean, I've got I've got some of the best radishes you've ever seen, but it's because it held the water,
Right.
And it just all it did was benefit it.
Yeah.
And plus, I took the drone out. We sold a big drone package to a guy, friend of ours, and we had to do some calculations for doing spread and dry stuff, and so we used granular lime. And so we took 5 bags out in my food plot because, lime, you can't ever really use too much, and spread lime all over the place about a week before the storm came.
Oh, wow.
And so that did nothing but just help it.
Yeah.
And, I've got them in there all the time now. I mean, it's not even really fair, but it's the drones are really revolutionizing a lot of things.
Yeah.
They really are.
Yeah, I mean, that does make sense. And I didn't even think about too wet, hey, we can't get tractors in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and plus they're saving on fuel costs. Now, make no mistake, I love big tractors. I drive a diesel 2500. All that stuff. Save the planet. I'm with you. Like I'm cheering right beside you. But with the drones, you can get in and get out so much easier, so much more accurate,
and tear up less crops.
tear up less crops.
Because
Yeah,
they tear up.
yeah.
What was the percentage they told us that?
With pumpkins, it was 30 bushels.
Oh, yeah.
They were running over 30 bushels doing their own fungicide.
Yeah.
So just by doing Ariel application, they were saving 30 bushels. Plus,
per acre.
Yeah, that was a lot. And plus, a lot of these are family farms, right? So it's not like they've got 30 migrant workers that come in. It's just close family. So
They can't afford to lose 30 bucks.
yeah,
or
exactly.
whatever.
But while we're flying, doing that job for them, it frees them up to go do something else that is of value within their farm. So there's a lot of benefits to it. There's really are not that many drawbacks. A lot of people ask about price, and some of that depends on grain prices every year. If grain prices are really good, that doesn't mean we're going to gouge people. Oh, you're making money, we're making more. We're not going to do that. But what happens is when grain prices are really good, people want to spend the money on fungicide and other things to enhance the crops because they're already good prices. So then you get into, we've got 7 days a week and we've got 10 people wanting us in 7 days. Our price is X. Yeah. And, we don't price gouge. Everything's calculated. That's one of the things that Tommy and David do. They calculate, everything so that we get a good fair price and we stick to it. There's companies out there that are quite frankly just not as good as us. They don't care about delivering as good a quality to the customer as we do, and they'll undercut us. And there have been several times that we've had to go in and fix their mistakes.
Right.
Yeah.
No, make no mistake about it. I'm not so arrogant as to say we are the best. We're not. But we've been doing it for quite a while. We're well funded. We take our time, and because we're well funded, we don't have a banknote that we have to meet on the last day of the month. So we don't have to take risky jobs. We can tell people, hey, I don't think this is a good investment for you. I think that although we could apply this, I don't think you're going to get the return that you need. And if we can't provide a premium product, we're just not going to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
As opposed to some other people might be like, oh, yeah, I'll do that for you. Yeah, no problem. Because they've got to make that money to make that. So for us, and that's something that I've always enjoyed about Bryson Industries is when we are coming up with a brand or a product or a theory or whatever, it stays in that idea range until we can bring a premium product to the consumer.
Right.
If you can't do it and make it premium, then why are you really doing it?
Right.
Like I see a lot of these products, like every year they just have a new label. Such and such gold, such and such platinum, such and such silver.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, like I mean, why would you not put your best foot forward?
Right.
And that's kind of with the drones how we do. And to your point about sometimes I turn down thermal recoveries because I could go out there and take their money, but
that's not what it's about.
No, it's not. And I want them to call me when the odds are more in their favor.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to not find something, but if I feel like we're not going to find it, if it's a 40% chance or lower, I tell them I don't think it's a good idea. And there's certain things that, in those questions, how many friends were in the woods and how much acreage do you think you covered? If that number gets kind of big, what's around you? If they're like, well, 3 sides is water, I'm coming.
Yeah.
But if they're like, well, there's a highway over here and You know, I got a poacher that lives over there, and worse, you know, there's a trailer park behind me.
Right. Yeah.
You know, probably not what happen.
What would you advise, like on your drone recovery? What would you give a hunter that has shot a deer and can't find it? What would you like right now? What would you tell us?
So if it doesn't matter what you think the shot is, 99% of the time when we find the deer, the shot is not what the shooter thought it was.
Right.
So be open-minded. You know, if you think you got a great shot, that's great. But what does your blood look like? You know, it just goes back to law enforcement. What does your evidence tell you? What does your arrow look like? You know, if you were shooting a mechanical, did everything, you know, come out like it was supposed to? Was it a full pass-through? When it took off, what did it look like? You know, was it flying through the woods with its tail tucked, or did it? You know, did you see it stop and wobble any? You know, how far in the woods did you go? If at any point you feel like something's just not right, stop right there. Just stop. Time's always on your side.
Yeah,
always on your side. Whether you recover that deer in 30 minutes or you recover that deer in 12 hours, the taxidermist isn't gonna care.
Yeah, that's good advice.
yeah.
So patience is what experienced hunters fall back on, and it's not easy. I mean,
that's like you said. That's the hardest thing to do.
It is.
Is back out sometimes.
It is. I mean, I'm not a good hunter. I'll be the first to tell you. At best, I'm marginal. Like I get excited, and you know, like. You know, hell, I shoot 120-inch deer. I think it's 180 inches, man. I don't know. I can't measure deer. Like, I'm not good. You know, I know a big deer from a small deer, but, you know, it's hard for me the few times I'm successful, you know, with what I perceive to be a good deer, good enough that I care to shoot it. I want to go put my hands on it.
Yeah.
But you have to listen to what I just said. I want to put my hands on it.
Right.
Yeah. And if you're not patient and you don't, you know, pull back, and I'm not saying you have to pull back and call a drone, but just give it some time, right? And then if you go back in 3 or 4 hours and you start to track blood and you have good blood, okay. But one person needs to track the blood.
Right.
You don't need to fan out, you know, 8 wide.
Right.
One person
Not time for a grid search. Just
no,
That's right.
One
Yeah.
person stay on the blood and everybody else stay behind them. And just go as far as you can. And then when you don't have blood, fine, stop. Don't go any more than about 10 yards. I would do a great big circle and then spiral your way into the middle to the smallest point. And if you don't find anything there, back out.
Yeah.
Dog or drone, back out.
Right.
Yeah, and like you said, that one person on point, you know, just everybody kind of falling in line. And be quiet.
Yes. Let them think. Let them concentrate.
Yeah, don't be loud and spook.
And and God bless. I love kids. I love having kids in the outdoors. Don't take kids on your track. Like if you don't know where it is, like it's one thing you found it and everything. You know, rah, you know, let the kid come in.
Well,
and
for
find
different
it.
reasons too. Like you know, one, you don't want the track to get screwed up,
That's right.
and then two, if you're bringing a kid out there, you want to show him something.
Right.
Don't drag him through or her through the woods
Right.
for hours and there's
Right.
nothing at the end of this trail.
Well, and kids don't
It's not
understand
fun.
to be quiet, be delicate,
Yeah.
walk lightly, you know, all
They
those
can't do
things.
that.
And you can't expect them to. So,
Yeah.
you know, that in a perfect world, that's what I would do. And that was exactly what Hunter did, and that's why we found his deer.
Oh, yeah.
So,
100%.
yeah,
Great.
patience counts.
Great advice.
Yeah.
Patience counts.
Yep.
So on the one thing I was kind of trying to understand with the drone recovery part of it. So when that drone's up, you were talking about the thermal imaging and being able to see the canopy and everything else. Like, so the drone can't see through the leaves. Like, so if it's a thick canopy, like early season, the drone can't see through that stuff, correct?
Sometimes yes, and sometimes no.
You could get like a heat signature off.
Yeah, I can. So it works one of two ways. Obviously, like when I'm flying at night, I'm flying through thermal because that's the only way I can see. And I can see white versus black depending on what palette that I choose to be on the screen. I like to use a white-black, and my heat signature is always red. It's just very simple. Yeah. It's less confusion. So early season, if I get up and I try to get about 100 feet above the treetops, and I've got the thermal looking down, I can penetrate through the canopy to pick up the heat signature. but it might not be the full heat signature. And so, like, as to where I might be able to see it right here, I might have to rotate the drone until I can find enough of a thin spot, or where, you know, there's a branch down or something, or just any advantage I can get to get that heat signature better.
So when you were talking about the spot, so it has a spotlight on it on top of that?
Right. So my drone has a spotlight on top of it. Now there's a bigger, more commercial, robust type thermal drone called a Mathews, and it's an awesome drone. And that spotlight is probably superior to mine. But the way mine works is it's two lights, and it sits on top of the drone. And then on the bottom of the drone, there's what's called the gimbal, and that's where all your cameras are and everything, you know. And as the gimbal turns, the lights turn with it.
Okay.
It's connected.
I gotcha.
Yeah, it's connected through a port, like a USB port on the top. So when I screw it in, it's now connected to the communication with the gimbal. So when I'm flying and the drone's hovering, I tilt the gimbal down, the flashlight goes with it. So when I turn the drone, you know, it follows it.
So you're finding the heat signal, and then you can take and turn the light on and
Right.
see if there's
There you
actually
go.
something there.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And normally you can tell by the heat source, because what I try and do is find just every time, because muscle memory is something, but your brain, the way my brain works is I can remember things, but if I see it like 5 minutes beforehand, then it kind of refreshes my memory. It kind of jump starts it, right? So what I'll do is I'll try and find a live walking deer, and I'll just kind of fly around it and just see it, and it's okay, all right, yep, all right, yep, okay, all right, let's go find a dead one. And so now I've got something in my brain to compare it to. So now where this image of a live deer is this, I'm looking for something similar but different. And I've found that the deer always lay on their wounded side, always. Or the more wounded of the two. Mm-hmm. And that's why they clot up so easily. And so then I'm looking for a similar heat source. Once I find it, I try to determine if the deer's dead or alive. And I'll just hover right there. We've got a friend of ours that does this in Virginia, and he's got this whole setup, man. He's got a big screen TV that comes out of the back of his truck, and like, you know, the customer come watch all that. I don't like people watch over my shoulder, because it just takes so much concentration.
I'd probably be the same way.
Yeah, it just, and you know, I got to take my glasses off, and I got to focus, and you know, I try and run through all the you know, oh, this thing's cool part of it before we really start looking, so that when I get close, or I think I'm on something, I can really focus. But once you find that signature, you know, you find a couple, 3 or 4, it pretty much stands out. Now, with that being said, I've also found a 55-gallon drum laying on its side that I thought was a deer. I was like, yeah, there's a deer right there. And the guy goes in, and he's like, 55-gallon barrel. I'm like, oh, my bad.
Just kidding.
Yeah, and I have one this year.
Still had heat from the sun.
Yeah. And then there was one earlier this year that I knew I had it found. I said, yeah, it's dead. Go get it. And it was a pig. You know, but
Well,
I
mean, yeah.
Speaking of pigs, you found a herd of pigs for a farmer so they could hunt them.
Yeah.
With the drone. That was pretty cool job.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was having a really hard time with.
Crashed the drone that night, actually. In the side of my truck.
Had a hard time finding.
He forgot to tell you that.
I think it's the first time hearing of this.
This is like a 2,500. Oh crap!
I wonder where our insurance policy just got increased.
It's got this return to home feature on it. And,
Yeah.
you know, you get it out wherever, and, you know, for whatever reason, you just hit return to home. You set the remote down. That thing comes and lands right back where it took off. And the guy that had hired me, we found the hogs, and he had a bunch of very influential people in town. I'll just leave it at that. And they were about 3 sheets to the wind. And one of the guys, he was like, hey, I want to see that thing come home by itself. I was like, yeah, no problem. So I always take it off on the back corner of my tonneau cover on the back of my truck. So I hit return to home, and it comes in, and you know, you can see it coming in. It comes in. It starts to descend pretty quick, and it gets to about 2 feet from setting down, and this huge gust of wind comes.
Oh, boy.
And it blows it right in the side of my truck. And those blades chopped my truck up. And that dude was like, whoa, that was pretty cool. And I was like, no, that wasn't pretty cool.
No, that
Like, there was nothing cool about that, man. Like, nothing.
So how long after a deer, let's say a deer, is dead, can you pick up? Heat from
Safe
it?
side, 48 hours.
See, that's amazing.
Well,
By itself, like that.
but you got to like keep in mind a deer's anatomy in their body, right? Like, think about how they survive in the snow. They store heat.
Oh yeah, they hold. That's what I'm saying. It's pretty neat that they hold heat that long to where you can pick it up and actually.
Now there was
recover
one
it.
last year that I went on, and I the only reason I found it is because there were 5 coyotes around it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And I got the coyotes, but I couldn't see the deer. And then there was one little place where I could get, and I saw it. And there was a 6th coyote in there that started gnawing on it, and the other 5 were the perimeter.
Mm-hmm.
And it was almost like, playing Hungry Hippos. They one go in, eat, come out, and we found it. But yeah, usually between 48 and 72 hours.
So sometimes you got to get a little creative. You can't just go, oh, there's some coyotes, and keep moving.
No.
Yeah.
And that's why I like to kind of not have people looking over my shoulder, don't put on the big screen, because I really do want to find these deer for people.
Yeah.
I want to be a part of that success. I want to be a part of, them being successful, because when I go hunt, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Like I want to share that with my friends, and I want to take the pictures and everything. And
Yeah, it sucks to lose deer. I mean, we've all lost them.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and it's going to happen. I mean, that's just part of that's why it's hunting and not killing.
Yeah.
But, the drones have been a lot of fun. It's a lot of licensing. It's a lot of studying. It's a lot of learning. It's a lot of being humbled, and I take care of a lot of the business side of it and a lot of the chemical side of it. David does a lot of the actual flight with the big drones because he's so good with them.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so much to learn. Like it's really overwhelming. I mean,
I can't imagine.
It's a lot, and we've tried some stuff that didn't work out, and we've crashed a couple of the big ones a couple times, and
Crashed and burned one of them.
yeah, we sent back a
$45,000 drone. Just
Oh my
up in
God.
flames.
yeah. Put it on a pallet.
I wasn't going to ask how much they cost.
Yeah, no, they're the big ones we have are $45,000 a pop, and they're worth it. If you want to invest the time, and that's where a lot of people fail, is they see these drones and they say, "Oh man, that's really cool." It's just like flying a toy, and then they go invest $45,000, and then they're like, "Oh, I have to have an FAA pilot license. Oh, I have to take an FAA physical. Oh, I have to have a pesticide license, an aerial applicator's license, and a pest plant license, and a contractor's license. And I've got to have this right here, and I got to have that right here. And, before I fly, I've got to have X amount of insurance. And, and the state has to come down and watch me fly and put a sticker on it before I'm allowed to fly. And, I have to file a flight plan every time before I fly with a FAA. Like, it's a lot.
Wow, yeah.
And so the actual flying of the drone is really not that difficult. It's pretty automated, but it's all the work to get there.
Right.
And it took us about
Heavily regulated. And regulated as if you were flying a helicopter.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll give you an example of how regulated it is. So like a lot of real estate agents, they've got, little small drones, and they were doing their own pictures and everything. But they didn't have what's called a Part 107, which is an FAA's license to commercially fly a drone, right? And the FAA kind of was sending out some shots across the bow and doing a little bit of enforcement in different areas of the country where people were using drones to take real estate, whether it's commercial or residential or, just land or whatever. And, nobody kind of paid attention. And all of a sudden, they started handing out $47,000 fines to the pilot that was taking the picture and to the real estate agent that hired them to do it.
Right.
And we've tried telling people, we're certified, we're insured, we're everything. Like real estate stuff for us is no big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like if we could make a living off real estate stuff, that'd be great.
Yeah, it's easy money.
It is, but there's so much risk and there's so much liability doing the pesticide stuff that you really have to be good at what you're doing. Because if you overspray it and you take out the neighbor's crop, you're buying it.
Yeah,
that's a phone call I don't want to have with him because we're great friends and I'd lay my life on the line for him in a heartbeat, and the last thing I want to do is disappoint him, and sometimes things happen.
Yeah,
but things like that happen because of negligence.
Well, and to your point about other companies needing to get in there and take your money.
Yeah.
They may spray on a windy day or a little windy day that most people, like you guys, like,
Yeah.
can't do it today. It's just not
Yeah.
conducive.
And we get out, how we get most of our customers riding around in the off season. We'll see a farmer out in his field working on a tractor, putting up a fence, whatever. We'll stop and go help him.
Yeah.
Just be like, hey, just want to let you know, like we get it. Like, it takes community. If you need us, here we are. Happy to come do a consultation with you. We'll go, sit by a wood fire stove for, 3 hours and talk to these fellas and talk about, what problems you have and what can we do to help solve it. And for us, it's more of a relationship building than it is business. I enjoy having the relationship, and then that allows it to lead into business.
Yeah.
I've always felt like, and that's something that I've always watched with David and Tommy is, relationships matter.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Services, goods, products, those are available anywhere.
Yeah.
But the reason people choose you is because they have a relationship with you.
Yeah. I agree 100%.
They have a relationship.
And we had kind of the conversation about like sponsors of podcasts or sponsors, people that I work with in the industry and all this stuff. And I don't like the term. I'd rather be a partnership.
Yeah.
And that means you're both,
Yeah.
putting in something and both
mutually
getting
beneficial.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because I send you money and I get nothing out of it, but some, social media posts, then
Right.
that's not fair.
I'd be more than happy to tell you off camera about my feelings about some certain well-known individuals as far as that goes. But since the boss is sitting here, I know he'll Judy chop me right in the neck if I start dropping names.
We'll do that when we turn these cameras.
I got stories too, brother. They might be the same
guarantee
people.
both
You
of
never
them.
know.
Probably.
It wouldn't surprise me if it wasn't the same people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
I can say that.
Sure it is.
the industry's interesting. We just try and stay in our lane.
Well,
try and-
it's so small.
It is.
People
And there's so
think
many
all this-
people that have worked each other's jobs. Like it's crazy. I mean, the guy that works at Mathews worked at Bowtech, worked at Hoyt, worked
Right.
at, like the guy that works at this broadhead company, worked at this broadhead company and that broadhead company. And it's, just, I don't know. It's funny. We enjoy just kind of being part-time in the industry.
Yeah, no,
Because
I'm with you.
It will rot you from the inside out, may the truth be known.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, and when we were looking for partners for the podcast, it wasn't, I'm going to call 77 companies and see who gives me what.
right.
I didn't do that
get,
at all.
Get what you can. Yeah.
It was not like
these
that
are
at
good
all.
people. These are good people. Let's call them
I
first.
think actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think you were the very first person I talked to over anybody. And I was like, I want it to be people we like. Like that. That's 100%
That's the
what
same
it's
when
about.
you asked us to sponsor your
The shooting
the
team.
Joad team or whatever it's called. That
Yep.
I think we were the first, one of the first that you called for that team.
You got to invest in the community, man. I mean, it's
Well, and
got
that's the
to.
thing. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that you guys were local, but for me, that's a big deal. There was, I mean, I think I called one other company and was told no, and that's it. But I didn't want to call nobody else. It wasn't that I was looking for products or anything like that. It was we were looking for partners,
right.
and
that share the same values.
yeah, that's the whole thing. It's about the value side of it, and not when I say value, it ain't the product value.
Right.
It's the value in the people.
Right.
Like there was one that I contacted him a few times that I wanted, and I ain't gonna say a name, but I still want them to this day, no matter what. Like that, even though they told us no, they didn't. Actually, they didn't even tell us no. They just didn't respond. But I still want that company.
Well, no response is a response.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
And
That's exactly
well,
what I said.
The Nashville no.
yeah, I mean,
Pass.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, they're still a partner of mine here in the store, and I would still, to this day, still be a partner of theirs, whether they responded or not.
Yeah.
And I can tell you off camera why and everything else. I mean, they're just bigger than what we are. You know what I mean? And at first it feels like you should take offense to it and this and that, but I don't.
But communication's a lost art in business.
But
It is,
persistence is,
isn't
too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
I got a company that I've been emailing for 3 days because I can't order something online on their portal, And I'm like, I just need a price sheet. Like, that's it. And they will not respond to me. And I'm getting to a point where it's going to be like, I'm just going to quit ordering it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I just need to see, like, I'm not going to order something blindly. I need to know what my margins are on this stuff.
Yeah.
And they're weird about it anyway. So it was like, why are you not responding to me?
Yeah, that drives me. And that's one of the things with our social media and email. Like, I'm really, really big about getting back to people immediately. Because if you think enough to reach out to us, it means you're using our product or interested about it. Yep. And so I don't want to run you off. And there's people out there that I've heard that have told me, like, why do you worry about one customer? Well, one customer.
Well, that one customer was Luke Brewster.
Yeah. I mean,
after killing the world record.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He bought it on Amazon and called Philip just to tell him that wouldn't have killed that deer without ElimiShield.
One of the greatest dudes I've ever met, man. Like true American hero story stuff. Like he's a good dude.
And we get that all the time because we're big. We do a lot on social media, and we get hit up constantly on social media. Yeah. And it's like sometimes in the back of your mind, like, I'm at home enjoying my dinner. I don't want to respond. But it's one of those deals that in the back of my mind, I've got to respond because if I don't, they may go somewhere else and I may not get the opportunity.
Like you said, no response is a response.
Right.
But it leaves that door open for their minds to go, well, they're a bunch of pricks.
Well, we get hit up all the time about
dinner.
Hey, do you need field testers or field?
I mean,
and I just I always respond.
But still politely.
Yeah, I always just say, hey, thanks for the interest. We've already set our staff for this year. Yep. Good luck this year. If you can, reach out maybe in the off season, and we'll look at things.
Yep.
It's one of my cut and pasted responses, but I always respond.
Right.
Because, I mean, just the respectful thing to do. I mean.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Treat the janitor as good as the CEO.
That's exactly right.
That's what our philosophy is.
Yep.
Don't care who you are.
Yeah.
Treat me with respect. You're going to get it back.
Exactly.
And even if you don't, you're going to get it. You're going to get respected back. I'm just not one to treat anybody differently than somebody else. Like I said, the brand. I get so much more enjoyment having a kid send us a picture of a doe he killed than I do with one of the big influencers that killed a trophy. So that's why we're here. That's what we make ElimiShield for.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think it's awesome.
Well,
I think y'all have phenomenal product. I think y'all are a phenomenal business. I mean, you've built something that's absolutely unreal. Not just with ElimiShield, but every brand.
Yep.
I admire you for it.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
We're glad to have you guys as partners.
I've enjoyed the heck out of this conversation.
I have too.
No, I have too.
Really good.
100%.
I mean, we truly could do this for another 2 hours.
Oh, there's no question. There's a big gap in our story that we didn't.
Hey, you're welcome back anytime.
Oh, yeah.
But,
Matter of fact, the 2 new members of the Skin Chat.
I've enjoyed
appreciate that.
And talking to you guys with business and stuff.
Well, I get to talk to you all the time, and I kept telling them, I'm like, guys, we got to do this with them, and I was like, it'll be awesome, and I think it's been awesome.
It has been.
Yeah,
awesome.
it really has.
So,
Have y'all done many
that very
podcasts?
I'm sorry?
Have you done many podcasts?
I've not. This is my first.
Really?
Yeah, he's done a couple.
Okay.
My 8th or 9th one, I think.
Oh, wow.
But
Okay.
this is my first.
Good.
has it lived up to the standard?
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
good.
it's fun. Y'all got good equipment. Y'all are, I mean, I don't have to worry about sugarcoating anything.
No, you don't. You don't.
No, definitely
Potato
not.
chip.
Not
Yeah, I don't like those. But y'all are awesome, man. Y'all are killer. Got a good thing going and
Thank you. That's
fun.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
We'd love to come back. Get me rolling. I won't shut up.
Yeah,
That's what I say.
We didn't.
We travel together. We'll be traveling to West Virginia tomorrow, and by the end of it, my ribs will be hurting from.
Oh,
Yeah, that's.
Well, I was going to
he's a
say we
comedian.
didn't tap into some of your stories.
Oh my God!
We'll get back
That's
together.
the Skin
Yeah.
Shed Comedy Hour. We'll have to get to.
So what it is, you need to go to West Virginia, kill a big old deer, and then we'll bring you back in and we'll talk about
I'd love
it.
to.
That's what y'all should do. Yeah,
I'd
after
love
your
to.
hunting trip.
Yeah, I'd love to. It's I've been 5 years up there. I haven't killed, so I've got
I've killed
I'm due.
every year.
So
Are you using a
Hey,
ElimiShield?
we got to talk about this story. So in 2021, he and I have been up there. It's on our 4th day, and we have we're planning to leave at 1:00. We have no communication up there, no cell service.
Oh, yeah.
We're too far away from each other for 2 ways. So we make a plan. All right, pick me up, here at 1:00, and we'll pack it in and go home. So I get in the stand. I kill about 9:00, and I watched a deer die. I mean, there's no track job. I shot him.
No drones needed.
No, shot him with my bow.
Desert
It's
hammer.
bow only up there where we hunt.
Right.
17 yards. Watched him die down the trail, and so now I'm saying, okay, now what? I'm just gonna be sitting here for another 3 hours waiting on Philip to come down the mountain.
Who is stewing because I have not seen anything. Got gar hold.
This is
Absolutely
mine was
ready to
20
smoke crank. I was so mad.
mine was 23 and a half inches wide, 138 inches.
Okay.
And so he comes rolling down the mountain, and he can see the look on my face. He said, "You motherfucker, you killed it. It's our last day. We're supposed to go home." I said, "Yeah, well." So he said, "Where is he?" And I said, "Don't even have to drag him. He's right on the trail." Drove right up to him, loaded him up. That was all that. Then the very next year, I kid you not, the next year, 4th day, we did the same thing. He comes driving down the mountain.
I'm about ready to kneecap his ass. I mean, like,
Once again, normally we've been sitting all day for 3 days, all day for 3 days, and then we're half a day. We're going home. It's sleeting. This time it's sleeting. It's snowing. We'd been in the stand all day for 3 days, and here he comes. I hear us side by side coming down the hill, and I'm just like, "Oh God, he's gonna kill me."
he's at the end of the trail with that shit-eating grin. And I'm just like, he's my best friend. I'm trying to be happy for him, But I'm like, I'm just going to run this son of a bitch over.
Stop this right now.
This time was different. We had to track
it. Andrew found it, actually.
His son found it for me.
Yeah.
After I was freaking out. I mean,
we found it. We saw it down the bank up against a tree. And Andrew, my son.
I'm still on my hands and knees looking for the next drop of blood,
Andrew said,
and I'm like,
"Don't tell him," but his deer's right down there to the left. I kind of looked, and I was like, "Oh, okay." So we went a couple more feet, and I was like, "Man, look, dude, let's get out of here, man. This deer ain't nowhere. You missed it again. Let's get out of here." He's like, "What?" It's like, "Yeah."
There's another speck right here. There's another speck of blood.
I was like, "Yeah, you don't even know what that is. Let's just get out of here, man." He was like, "Oh, well. All right." I was like, "Before we do, just run down there and grab your deer." Right quick." Like the look on his face was just like,
and it was straight down the mountain, wrapped around a tree.
The look on his face was like, you think you're going to the prom with the prom queen, you're going with the prom king. He was just like, "What's going on here, man?"
But it was just, the irony of both 2 years back to back.
Yeah.
We hunt for almost 4 days, and I kill it the last minute.
Well, Philip, you're due.
Yeah.
It's your turn.
We're rooting for you.
Of course, he's got to actually connect. Last weekend he
You got that out of the way.
Yeah. Well, my knock was jacked up, which I should have checked, but whatever. Like I said, I'm not a good hunter. I'm marginal best. I've not run from that at all.
We're going to get some marginal win shirts.
Oh yeah,
we have to.
Got to do it.
So we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Well, so y'all were going back to West Virginia to hunt. What'd you say, November?
No, we're going tomorrow.
Clean up tomorrow.
Clean up. We got storm cleanup.
And then you're going back to November.
November 6th. We'll go from 6th through the
13th, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're going to Illinois for muzzleloader.
Oh.
The first week of December.
Nice.
So
and we'll be, Virginia. We own land together in Virginia.
Yeah.
So we'll go up there
Well,
2 or 3 times, and
I say we reconvene about mid-November.
Check in.
Yeah.
See what's going on.
I'm ready. Hear some stories.
I'm ready to throw like Chinese throwing stars.
Yeah.
Like hide tannerite and freaking stumps. Like dig out booby traps and stuff.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I'm really getting frustrated.
I think what it is you don't need to be in the Ranger on top of the mountain. You need to be down the mountain.
Well, so I've got one at the bottom and I've got one at the top.
yeah, he's been working hard all summer.
I have. I've put some work into this. I don't.
Every time he goes, I said, "You mind putting some corn out for me?"
My honey hole.
The place where I go in my flannel and my Nike sweat socks and sweatpants and socks, just hang out for a little bit and just decide which one I'm going to shoot. Well, I'm up on top of the mountain with no cell service and freezing, just to watch a freaking spike. It's got one side broke off from fighting with a tree.
We were in I think it was in Home Depot one day, and they've got a whole section of the snake away, but they got a deer repellent. And he was like, "I'm putting this in the apple tree. The name of my stand is Apple Tree." He said, "I'm putting this in apple tree."
He's gonna load it up in his drone and spray.
I'm just going to take all the damn trees down tomorrow. Like, this one's dead. You can get this one. Well, this one's dead.
They're
too.
all dead.
Yeah, the one that my stand's in. Is gonna...
You can't hunt out of a blind because the bears will destroy it.
Yeah,
Destroy
yeah.
you. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe we need to reconvene and
That would be cool.
Oh, yeah.
see what Phillips F up this year is. That can be
Well,
the-
hopefully not.
I hope
I hope
not.
not.
No.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm- Dude, I am. There's nobody pulling for him more than me because I've seen all the misses.
yeah.
So I'm ready
My
to see
wife
him.
is. 'Cause
I'm ready
she's
to
tired
see.
of hearing me bitch about it.
I was going to say, you're tired of hearing all the
Yeah.
bitching, aren't you?
Yeah.
So, is it buck fever?
No, I'm good until after the shot's gone. But I don't like freak out.
It's a
No,
lack.
he's killed. No,
It's a lack
I've
of
killed- I've
bucks.
killed plenty
he's
of deer.
killed deer.
Yeah,
It's the past couple
I
of
just
years.
had bad luck last
For the last
year.
couple
Drought.
of years.
Oh, no, I understand how that is.
All right, so
Yeah.
last year his shoulder was jacked up. He couldn't pull a compound, so he borrowed my crossbow, and I was already up there. His son was playing football. He was going to come up there the next morning to hunt. So I asked him, do you know how to cock the Excalibur crossbow? Oh yeah, I've used that before. And I said, okay, well I'm gonna leave it on in the cabin. So I'm gonna be in the stand when you get here. So see you at lunch. I got down at lunch and I'm driving down the trail and he's standing there and he's holding my crossbow and he said, "The fuck's wrong with this thing?" It's cocked. It's fully cocked, or it looks like it. His trophy, his target deer, we call him tall tines. It was a huge 8-pointer, but it was tall, so
Good
just a
mass,
beautiful
too, man.
deer.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
I would. It was at least 140-inch deer. Had to be.
I'd hit the gas instead of the brake if you ran out in front of me. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
So he's standing there and he's holding the crossbow. He said, "Your crossbow's broke." He said, "I had him at 15 yards." He said, "I was celebrating. Had him in the crosshairs. I was celebrating before I even pulled the trigger, and it wouldn't go off." And with the Excalibur, it's a double click. You got to get up past that first click and get to the second click. And he didn't do it.
Who brought the cool guy?
And he was sitting there pulling the trigger, and he was like looking at it. He's shoving the arrow in it.
You know, it's like with guns, tap, rack, and ready, and you're ready to get back on target. And I'm doing everything I can. I'm nothing. Meanwhile, that deer's just down there. Please kill me. Hard card.
15 minutes that deer stayed within the kill zone.
Oh,
He could never get that thing. And then he just walked on away. Never even knew he existed. So that's the bad luck last year. And then this year.
And then that night, I went to shoot that bear. After we got the decock thing. The cock
That's
thing
right. Yeah, and the string broke.
And the bear was
Yeah.
behind me. And I stood up in the stand. I came around. He's on back legs, arms up. Like, it was beautiful. It was like some movie shit. And I come around the corner. And I go to shoot him. And the freaking string
String blew up.
blows off. Yeah. So
That was 2 days.
You want me to tell you what that is? Don't shoot a crossbow.
Yeah.
agreed. But I couldn't
He
draw my bow
had
back.
no choice. Yeah.
I mean, I had
He's He's got his compound now. So
I got run over when I was in the patrol, and I was working a wreck and got hit and whatever. So I get every now and again I get a really bad pinched nerve back here, and I didn't even know it was acting up until I went out to start practicing in like August to shoot. I couldn't even, nothing. And like if I went to try and lift something up over my head, like this arm would just fail me. I had a big bend fall around my forehead and didn't know what was wrong. So I'm going through with the chiropractor and all this stuff, trying to get right. Well, in the meantime, the best part of hunting season's around, and I don't want to shoot a crossbow if I don't have to, but I wanted to hunt. I get it. But
that's what they're.
That's what they're there for, really. To be quite honest with you.
Right.
It's not because you're lazy and you don't want to learn how to shoot. It's for people that can't. And unfortunately, I was just in that window.
And he's killed nice deer with his bow. So
but
he's just had bad luck.
I've just had bad luck the last couple of years, so I'm due.
It happens, man. I went through a spell where I had some bad luck for probably 4 years, and I tell you what I blame it on. Now it could be superstition, it could be whatever. I shot an albino, and they say that if you shoot an albino, you're going to get bad luck.
I've been watching one for 3 years now.
Oh, so man. I'll tell you this.
He's not shooting it.
So
not after hearing this, I'm not.
I shot one, but I never found that animal. But I had bad luck for like 3 or 4 years in a row, and I was like, this is weird. Another guy we hunted with killed one. This is crazy. It was a 4-point albino in velvet. He had it full body mounted. It looks like a goat standing in his living room.
Yeah, I believe that.
He had bad luck for like 10 years.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be 7
years.
is what they say.
Oh, my. It could have been 7. It could have. But
don't
his
matter.
lasted for like 10 years. When I say bad luck, I'm talking about like the worst I've ever seen.
The property owner where I hunt where this albino is, he wants to shoot it. And I was like,
I would never like.
No, I told him, that's a great deer for you to kill. Yeah, go ahead.
I'd love it.
Well, then mine.
So you want to come shoot it?
So mine was a big 8-point albino. Like
big?
Big. Like 100-incher.
It ain't no Oklahoma deer.
He was a good size 8-pointer in albino, and this was before like cell cams, all this stuff. I hit him right smack dab in the shoulder. You could hear it, and he didn't die. Like he gave me bad luck, and I can tell you that I probably wouldn't shoot one if it walked out.
Yeah, no.
I'm not really a superstitious person, but the luck that I had, I don't know that I would shoot.
Look, I'll tell you this. If I kill this year in West Virginia, whatever I have on, I promise you I will have the same damn thing on next time I hunt.
Yeah.
If I got peanut butter and jelly in my backpack, I'll have peanut butter and jelly in my backpack again.
That's what's been so hard about selling a ElimiShield is because when somebody is finally successful, whatever they were doing and whatever products they were using, changing their mind. Changing their mind is impossible for the most part.
That makes sense. That's
switching from that mellow yellow to Mountain Dew.
Changing socks. Yeah. Wearing the same socks till we lose a game.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm hoping you'll have success.
Yeah.
Well, for sure.
Yeah, really do.
Somebody will.
We'll be successful just getting in the stand.
Mr. Positivity.
Just being in there.
Somebody will.
That's success. The kills, the
that's the whole
cake.
thing. I'm sure it's probably the absolute best week of the year, just about for y'all to go to camp and hang out. And,
it'll be good.
Can't wait.
It'll be good.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, let's get back together maybe.
Sure.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yep. Let us know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we appreciate y'all's time.
Yeah,
Chuck always has to close us out.
Yeah.
So we'll unless you guys plug everything first.
Definitely. Tell everybody where to find y'all and the products they can find.
ElimiShield Hunt on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Bryson Brothers Aerial Solutions on all the platforms. Come by your ElimiShield Hunt, of course, at Fuel Outdoor Gear.
Mm-hmm. How about that?
Far and near. Mm-hmm. It's worth the drive.
Yeah, it is.
But
Cool.
Now, Citrus Safe is available. Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart, Target, Ace Hardware, Kroger. Just about everywhere that has a grilling accessory section has Citrus Safe. Yeah, that's about it.
Awesome.
All right.
Good deal.
Close this out, bud.
I don't know if I should say this or not, but
You shouldn't.
no,
If you got to think about that.
they
hard.
give me a hard time.
If you're not closing us out, you shouldn't say.
No, I'm just saying the giveaway. I was going to bring that up, but I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah, I don't know when
it's
this will
probably-
come out because
This may be after the
Yeah.
giveaway.
Okay. Well, I won't mention nothing about it. I guess anyway.
I'll edit the part out where you looked real dumb just then.
Well, you have to work
That's
your
why it
ass off
takes-
for me.
That's why it takes so long to get this thing out.
Yeah, because of me. I'm the dummy in the bunch. I've already said that
He's
once.
like cutting and pasting.
yeah,
little
Yeah.
two
He's
second
like,
thing.
damn it, Chuck! Just added 30 minutes to my work.
No, I'm kidding, buddy.
No, as usual, give a hoot, don't pollute. Pack it in, pack it out. Again, keep your bootleggers. Take them home to your own garbage can. Throw them in.
Don't quit throwing them in Chuck's
Quit throwing
ditch.
them on my road.
Yeah, that's a real. That's a
You know what I'm
soft
talking about?
spot.
No.
Them little bottles that people buy.
It's like a flavored malt
I don't
beverage.
know what
or
it
whatever.
is.
Mad Dog 2020.
They is some.
Yeah, high
They is
school's
some.
favorite.
They is some
It's the same
person.
thing.
Well, evidently
Man or
bootleggers is 'cause
That when they turn onto my road, they've already drank it and they just chunk it. I mean, like there's a pile of them. I'll go pick them up.
same spot.
Same spot.
You know, a box of roofing nails will solve that problem.
Yeah. Well,
Just
I'll tell
throwing
you
that
what.
out there.
You think it's
Trail
on
camera.
Jerry?
You know.
No, it's not.
Well-
Get you a Tacticam, you'll find out who it is.
Well, I've thought about that. Quite frankly,
I mean, you got one that you ain't got in the woods.
no, I ain't even took it out of the box yet.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I hadn't. I mean, I thought about it today. Actually.
Take it away, Brandon.
Yeah. Anyway, back to you.
All right. Yeah, I'm just gonna say, see y'all later. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah. Thank you guys too.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks for having us.
All right, see you guys on the next one. Adios.
Later.
Later.